Hi guys, my name is Elena and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be reviewing the book Memorial Drive by Natasha Trethewey. I actually had never heard of this book before coming to my English class in college where we had to read it, but I actually ended up really enjoying it. So for this reason, I will be giving it a rave review, and this also deals with the fact that I love the language that Natasha Trethewey uses throughout her memoir, the development of the different characters, and for the overall message and takeaway that you actually get from the story. So to start, I will provide a little bit of background information to the book. This book is a memoir, so it is telling the story of Natasha Trethewey's own life, which in my opinion is already very interesting. She was born of mixed race, so her father is white and her mother is black. So during the time period that she's growing up in, she does face some racism at times. And we actually find out that her mother was murdered and that she's still kind of grieving the loss at the time that she's writing this book. The memoir focuses a lot on Natasha as she grows up and faces hardships in her childhood and young adult years, and even her actual adult years like divorce, racism, domestic violence, and grief, and there's just a lot to pack in there. Personally, I really enjoyed this book, and if I had to rate it, I would probably give it like a 9 out of 10. And this is because there's probably some things that I would do differently if I was writing this book. But overall, I believe that it is a very well-written and fantastic book that I really enjoyed reading. So the first reason that I will be giving it a rave review is because of the language and descriptions that really pull you in and kind of make you feel like you are experiencing the book yourself. There are countless scenes where the imagery is just so strong, and I can actually picture the image that Natasha is making through her creative language. There is a quote from the book that talks about a photograph that Natasha is seeing of her mother, and she describes it so that you can actually picture the photo in your head. And now I will read you the quote. It reads, "He shot her like this, her black dress black as the scrim behind her, so that, but for her face, she is in fact part of that darkness, emerging from it from the depths of memory." And I really like this quote because it really lets you picture the image in your head, and I think that really adds a lot to the book because you feel like you're actually experiencing it yourself because there's so much detail provided. The second reason I like this book so much is because of the descriptions and developments of the people in the memoir. Natasha Trethewey does a great job turning the real people in her life into the characters that you see in the memoir. There are many characters that I can imagine what they would look like or sound like based on Natasha's descriptions throughout the story, but I also enjoy how she develops certain people. For example, she develops her mother's character as well as what their relationship was like and how it actually changed throughout the story. To talk more about her mother, she talks about what she looked like, what kind of job she did, how she acted, how she talked, etc. And one quote in the book actually talks about her mother's physical description, and it is as follows. "My mother and I are both dressed in purple, her paisley dress, my velvet frock. She's just begun to wear her hair in an afro, a reddish corona around her head." So through this quote, you can kind of see and picture how her mother looked, and that is what I really like about this book, is how vivid the descriptions of the characters are. So I feel like I'm kind of actually there, and I can really understand her mother's character more and the other characters and what kind of roles they played in Natasha's life. The third reason that I really enjoyed this book is because of the overall message and takeaways that you can actually get from the story. I was able to learn a lot about the different traumas that Natasha had experienced throughout her life, and this book does a great job of talking about very heavy topics, which may even be triggering to some people. So I would definitely watch out for things like that. If you have things that you get triggered by, just be careful while reading this book. But she ends up teaching many different lessons that I don't want to completely spoil in case you're going to actually read it. But we learn about coping with different kinds of grief and trauma, and actually how this memoir helped Natasha herself heal from her past. To look at one final quote from the book, it describes what Natasha has learned from writing this memoir and facing her own traumas. It is, This is how the past fits into the narrative of our lives, gives meaning and purpose. Even my mother's death is redeemed in the story of my calling, made meaningful rather than merely senseless. It is a story I tell myself to survive. I really personally like this quote because I feel like it shows you what Natasha really went through, and that adds a lot to the book. I think one of the most beautiful aspects of this book is how open and honest it is about these different and difficult subjects, and I think the vulnerability is what makes this novel really hit home for me and others, I'm sure. For these previous reasons, I have given Memorial Drive a rave review, and one that I think is very well deserved. I've definitely learned a lot through reading this book, and I would recommend it to anyone who wants to learn more about someone else's life and traumas that they were vulnerable enough to share with the readers. So please like this video and comment down below and let me know if you have any recommendations so I can do more book reviews in the future. And thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye.